1, 2, 3.
Hello, welcome to Rock the Cash Bar. I'm Ben Mowbray.
And I'm Diane Gallagher.
Every week we pick one song and do a deep dive into the lyrics and explain the different ways they've been interpreted.
We will also discuss how the song connected to us on a personal level, focusing on all the embarrassing details.
Glad to have you here. Enjoy the show. Fucking go, Canada, go, eh? So the Canadians are playing Croatia this morning in the World Cup. And I got up early and I went to the bar down the street. I got there late. Canada's already up 1-0 on Croatia. And I'm so excited to cheer on my boys in the red and white. Mes amis in les rouge et blanc for my friends in Quebec. And the field is totally tilted in the red and white direction. The Croatian goalie is yelling at his teammates. I don't know shit about soccer, but that can't be good. The red and white score a goal. It gets called back on offsides. I don't know shit about soccer, so I'm screaming about how that can't be offsides. Fuck you, ref. The red and white score another goal a few minutes later, and the scoreboard, because like it's 2-0 Canada. Fuck yeah. And that's when I looked at the scoreboard, and it was 1-1. And that's when I realized that, Croatia's wearing red and white today. Oh shit! Like it was like don't ever get it. Like so I was looking at the names on the back of the red and white shirts, and it's like, well, there's a lot of like Ukrainians and Polish people in Canada. There's a whole lot more black dudes in Croatia than I would have thought. Like, what? What's going on? So yeah, I don't know that I've ever been more humiliated in a bar at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning ever in my life. So good morning. How are you, Diane?
Good morning, Ben. I was going to say I had no idea you were so into soccer, but I do know you're into Canada. So
I don't know fuck all about soccer. All I know is if the world is throwing a party, I want to go.
Okay, got it.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we're here today with comedian Billy Wayne Davis. Billy, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
You look fantastic. You are in a hemp grow room. You are surrounded by huge marijuana.
I like that
plants.
you guys
like
say it's hemp because you're in Texas, but that is cannabis.
It will forever just be
safe.
weed. It's weed.
Yeah.
I only learned in the last couple of years that you can also call it flower. Like I don't know.
Well, that's because of the onset of all the oil and concentrates and stuff. So, that's when it was like, you got flour, you got this, and you're like, oh, okay. Now it's on to different stuff. That's where that came from.
I need to listen to your podcast and get educated about flour.
I have a lot of knowledge about the plant of cannabis now because I started this cannabis podcast, which is I did it. My co-host is he's one of the best growers I've ever met, and he gets mad when I say that, but he's not here. But he really is like incredible. It's all organic and like it's okay. So it's really neat. I think it's a plant that can, and it sounds grandiose, but it can save the whole planet if we did it right.
I
Eradicating it was not a good idea from the planet. It was not a good idea to do that.
I think if we're being rational, we probably do need to choose one or the other, booze or cannabis. I think we chose poorly.
I do.
Yeah. Well, and then like alcohol has its place. Some people, it's like it's a good medicine for some people, but like it's not for everybody, and it's poison. So, and cannabis is not poison, so that gives it a leg up from the start.
Pouring a little bit more poison. It is Sunday brunch time in Houston.
Sure, Texas. Whatever you got to do, white lady. But it is like the way it grows and like what it's for the ecosystem, and also like it's like our body has cannabinoid receptors, so we're already set up to receive it. And
I'm almost ready to say fuck the chili peppers and let's do a whole pot podcast. But
well, you can just listen to mine. You can go to Grown Local. But that was good, man. That's the best. That's the best tease I've ever done. I'm getting good at this.
We're gonna have to promote it for sure some more at the end. But I love talking to a true blue hippie positive reinforcement pothead. I love it.
I just went and raised money Hill Center in home, so I'm as real deal as you can get at this point.
I love it.
That's where cannabis culture started, was in southern Humboldt. All those back to earth, back to land.
Love it.
They didn't start growing it because they were like, yeah, they were just like, this one makes us money when we grow it, so this helps us live. It really was that. They weren't like, we're gonna move out to this place and start growing weed. They were like, we're just gonna be naked with all these people and just hang out. And it's an interesting
it sounds
story.
It sounds
yeah, it's awesome. It's kind of awesome. I mean, they're weird, but so is everybody else, so it doesn't matter.
Everybody's weird. Speaking of weird, all right, we are gathered here today to talk Californication. Billy Wayne, tell us why you chose this song.
Because it doesn't. Okay, the Red Hot Chili Peppers are a fantastic band because it's just music. Like, Kiedis made this. Okay, so one night, my friend Jesse and I, this is years ago, like when I was just like early in the stand up too, so we were probably like after a show, we're like kind of drunk or stoned watching some kind of late night talk show, and Anthony Kiedis is on there.
Okay.
And he's doing his stuff. He's a panel guest. He's not doing music.
Oh.
And I was just like, I just started laughing in the middle of his appearance, and my buddy was like, "What?" And I was like, "He's just like the most articulate dumb person I've ever." It's like, it's amazing. And then the first radio show, this is after this, but to go back even further, I had a radio show when I played junior college baseball that they gave me the community college had a radio station, and they gave me a show on there, which was, I still can't believe they let me do that.
Wait, was the show about sports or was it about music?
No, I had my own show on then from like 5 a.m. to like from like 5:30 to like 8 a.m. Okay. I was on 88.5 WVCP. It's weird that's still in there. You have to say it a bunch.
Yeah, I assume.
But I had to play like like there was certain music I had to play. They were like teaching you how to do radio, and then they gave us like a lot of free will, like certain types of music, but we had to play like Scar Tissue and these Red Hot, like these couple, and it was great. You know, it was like really, that's when it came out. It was like this weird sound. And that's kind of how I got into them, because I would hear it a lot. And then, you know, as you get older, it's like when I got into stand up, that's when you start really, I started like really listening to words.
Yeah.
More than, and then when you listen to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, you're like, none of this makes any goddamn sense. Like, not even like metaphorically, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But music, like, then as I got older, like, it like made me mad when I really, like, for a while, where I was like, man, this is fucking ridiculous. And then as I got older, I understood music more. I was like, it's actually pretty cool. He's just writing musically.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, and there's something really interesting in that, the way, because to me, pop music doesn't make any goddamn sense anyway. So why not just make it all sound really cool? And he does a really good job of that. And this song is like a great example of it. Like, it's a great song that makes zero fucking sense.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Until you do the research.
It fits the melody perfectly. It fits the rhyme scheme perfectly. Like, he's laid the words very carefully next to each other. He's done a really nice job of it.
He's an articulate idiot.
It's the beauty.
And he's probably not an idiot,
too.
you know what I mean? But like, that adds to the bit. But it is like, when you listen to him talk, it's like listening to an actor who hasn't been fed lines, where you're like, oh God, no, you empty vessel, stop.
He is so easy to love and hate at the same time. He really is.
Yes.
We did an episode of a song called Lady Killers and by the band Lush from the 90s. And she talks shit about three guys that, three musicians who were famous in Hollywood. And one of them, she talks shit about, the one verse is 1,000% Anthony Kiedis. She doesn't even try to hide it. And I think she has the same exact sentiment you do.
Yeah, he's like very charming too.
Yeah.
We're just,
but very eye rolling.
And then, but when you see them on stage, it is like they're special. They have a thing where it's like live. They're really great.
I mean, I was on board. Blood Sugar Sex Magic is the best. I owned it.
They're great.
It was the best. It was so good. And we did Higher Ground. We did an episode on Higher Ground, and people get mad at me, but I'm like, I think I like the Chili Peppers version just a little bit more. And that's sacrilege to say anybody does anything better than Stevie Wonder. But I mean, it's really good.
Stevie probably agree with you on certain things. He seems like cool. You know what I mean?
He might be okay with it. He likes
me. Like, yeah, it's a different version. I liked it.
All right. We're going to get into these lyrics. And I'm going to say, we used to do a segment. We used to do a segment on here on like, we'd have people send us their misheard song lyrics, their personal ones. This song is full of misheard song lyrics for me personally. And not only misheard, just like I never even tried to understand what he was saying. So seeing these lyrics in print has been very helpful. And then it also helped with the research on figuring out what the fuck he's talking about in each line.
Even if he explains it doesn't make sense, you're still like, okay.
Some surprisingly do. I was like, first of all, we'll get to Firstborn Unicorn. Okay, I'll wait. We'll just get there. Let's do it.
Yeah. This is Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Psychic spies from China try to steal your mind's elation. And little girls from Sweden dream of silver screen quotation. And if you want these kind of dreams, it's Californication.
Psychic spies from China try to steal your mind's elation.
Okay.
That's
there you go.
Yeah.
So this came out 22 years ago. This came out in June 2000.
Before TikTok. Way before TikTok.
And before the internet was really the power that it is now. Is this just a conspiracy theory that was happening? Psychic spies from China?
No, I read apparently Anthony Kiedis was traveling in New Zealand and he ran into a woman who was mentally disturbed. And she tried to convince him that psychic spies from China were trying to steal her mind.
Okay.
See?
Yeah.
Nonsense. Like double, it's like two layers of nonsense. Like an actual crazy person and then a charmed crazy person being like, I can use that. I can use that.
But like what you were saying, Billy Wayne, like, how fun is it to sing that line? Psychic. I didn't know what the fuck he was saying.
Oh, I'm sure the rest of the day he was like, psychic, and people are like, oh, he's doing the thing. Like, people,
like whatever he does while he's singing.
Like, have you guys ever worked with a comic who like writes the same joke all fucking day long? Like just searching for the perfect word placement.
Like Greg Warren?
I mean, I do that in my head, but like, I'm not going to bother you motherfuckers with it. You know what I mean?
Anthony Kiedis is going to bother us motherfuckers with it. I bet living with Anthony Kiedis, I bet he spent all fucking afternoon. Psychic spies from China try to elation, your mind's elation.
I do think, I bet the dynamic between like Flea and Chad and whatever other one they have at the time, it is like what they're like, all right, just say this stuff into like record all your nonsense and we'll come in and play. Like, I wonder what that process, I bet it's more like around his stuff. Yeah. And then they come in and they're like, boom, 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 boom.
I bet you're right.
He goes and they're like, we have this music and he's cool. Here's some nonsense for it.
That makes like more sense for the way he thinks. I bet they're playing something and he just starts like mind shitting out. Yeah, like a rapper. Yeah.
I get the impression that Flea is like he's like the trip daddy of the whole thing. You know, like he's looking after everybody. Like, just give me all the notes, Anthony. Like, I'll hammer it together. You go take a nap.
I love him.
Yeah.
I was in his presence once outside of this restaurant in LA, where I think it was him because he's like a little bigger than you think and his name's Flea. You know what I mean? And he's like bouncing around everywhere. But he's like, I mean, he's not huge, but he's not tiny.
Okay.
So I was like, dude, that was like, that dude looks like Flea. And then someone came over and said something, and I was like, oh, that's fuck Flea. That is but like he's like kind of ripped.
Yeah.
Like I would not mess with like in that like street kid kind of like where you're like, that's a real street kid right there.
Yeah. Scrappy.
Yes, it was like legit. It made me happy. And then I looked into him more. He's like very smart and like for sure. I think you're exactly onto something where he's like all right, get in the room, do the thing, children. Yeah,
he's oddly the adult in the room. Like these guys are really looking to Flea to be their caregiver.
Yeah, he's like, let's just put a sock on it. You know, let's just don't go full on this. I'm telling you.
All right, we're getting to the second line of the song now.
All right.
Perfect.
And little girls from Sweden dream of silver screen quotation.
All right. I just think hot blondes. When I think of Sweden, that's where all the hot blondes are made, right? That's the factory.
Greta Garbo, Ingrid Bergman. There's a lot of Swedish actresses for sure. And obviously,
that makes sense. But also, is he talking about like heroin? The first thing the Chinese.
It could be. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. I mean, China is kind of a heroin exporter for sure.
I didn't know that.
Kinda, you know.
Yeah. If I remember my history right, and I'm sure I don't, I think the English fought a war with China, like basically like forcing them, like, you will make more heroin.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's what they call it. So it was like.
Oh, that, you know what? And you know, the Peppers have such a history of heroin abuse, then
and it's about California. And then the star thing, listen, it's very vague, and that's his thing.
Which I like. It makes it fun. It makes our job way more fun when we have to like, but what if it's this? But what if it's this? Yeah.
Yes.
And if you want these kind of dreams, it's Californication. Now, obviously, fornication is fucking. So I think the general thing that he's saying over here is that the spread of California is fucking us all.
There's so much here.
Or if you want to be a star or you want drugs, the good to do it is sex. Good way to get it. And I think it's okay. This is like a couple of me and my friends talk about this is like, here's the thing that the conservatives do get right is Hollywood is full of shit.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it is one of the funniest things. It's like when they say like, and I'm in Hollywood, so I do. It's like I'm part of it. I hate it. It's like a thing, whatever. But that part of it is like, oh, that everyone here is full of so much shit. It's so crazy. It is exhausting and
I can't tell if they're more full of themselves or the shit, but it might be just equal.
Well, they don't know. I think it gets to the point where they don't know anymore.
Yeah, there's a blurred line.
It's just this strange. I have a good time with it, but like if you remove, traveling helps. Leaving, I think that's why stand-ups have a more interesting time in LA than most.
Yeah. I don't mean to blame actors because I love the movies and I like actors, but there's something like, what's an actor selling but their personality, their vibe, you know what I mean? Like they're not, and it's valuable. Like Clooney has a whole hell of a lot of charm that somebody like me doesn't have. Like it is a valuable thing, but it's not a quantifiable thing. It's not a thing that you can really work at. It's not like stand up where it's just like you're getting the right laughs per minute. You know, it's not like being a musician where it's like, can you play those guitar scales?
Right.
Like acting real, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just vague.
Well, Clooney and like McConaughey, they're selling an archetype of a human being where I think, and they like really understand that kind of thing. I think Clooney's interesting because he does cool things with his money.
Yeah.
I think that really to me defines a human being more than just making money. It's like I'm never going to be those one of those people who's like, oh, just because they have money, they're bad. And you're like,
No.
it's not. I've just met too many types of people. I'm like, it doesn't. I know wealthy people that do really cool shit with their money.
Mm-hmm.
And so like some people are so wealthy and you'd never even know it because they're just not showy and they don't put it in your face.
I mean, I grew up, my grandpa's a cattle farmer, so those motherfuckers are carrying thousands of dollars in cash in their overhaul bibs every day. There's a pistol in the back, but there's like, it's like,
yeah,
like, so it is like guys like that where it is like, it's a, but you're right, actors aren't like, there's an art to it to some degree, but then most of it's not.
There's so much of it there's so much of it that's lame. I was having a conversation with a friend and I was shitting on the Kardashians. And my friend was trying to come to their
defense,
to their defense. And I was like, you know, fuck these people. Like, fuck the mom, you know, I cannot fathom peddling my own daughter's sex tape, you know, all the same story. And then we started talking about Shiv, the character from Succession. And what an awful, that was like his favorite character. I'm like, she's the worst. And he was like, you just hate successful women. I was like, Dolly Parton's successful. I don't hate her. Like, I want people who rise to success with a soul attached to it. That's all I'm asking for. And I think
that's funny that he was just attached. That you didn't like. It's just like, well, they're bad people. The gender. It's like they're bad people.
Yes.
It doesn't. Yeah.
They're bad human beings.
They're not good people. They're not doing good things for good reasons. And it doesn't.
I saw a bumper sticker that said, in a world of Kardashians, be a Beth. And that's the girl from Yellowstone. And I'm like, she's a nightmare. What are we talking about here? Can we not?
I would see that bumper sticker and be like, I don't even understand what they're trying to tell me.
I would like, is Beth a Kardashian that doesn't do the show?
I mean, yeah. All right. We've gotten 3 lyrics in, but I do want to say before we go on, I just thought the word fornication was a hillbilly way of saying sex. I didn't know that like the dictionary definition of fornication refers disapprovingly to any sexual activity outside of the confines of marriage. I didn't know that that's what fornicating was.
Yeah, fornication is like it's almost like a legal term. You know, like you can be charged with fornication in more biblical times.
I didn't know.
It's the edge of the world.
It's the edge of the world in all of Western civilization. The sun may rise in the east, at least it's settled in a final location. It's understood that Hollywood sells Californication.
It's the edge of the world in all of Western civilization. The sun may rise in the east, at least it's settled in a final location. It's understood that Hollywood sells Californication. Now, if I were Flea and I were arranging the lyrics, as we've established, it's Flea that arranges the lyrics. That's the first verse. That establishes the tone. It establishes the setting. It's not batshit psychic spies from China. It's not little girls from Sweden. Like, that's the start of the song. Flip it.
Flip it. I think you're right, Ben.
Hey, your surgeon very well to break the spell of aging. Celebrity skin, is this your gender? Is that war you're waging?
All right. This is pay your surgeon very well to break the spell of aging. Celebrity skin, is this your chin, or is that war you're waging? Like, obviously, this is Hollywood, everybody trying to look young, waging the war on youth. Somebody had to point this out in an article I read. I wouldn't have picked up on it. Celebrity Skin is the name of an album by Hole.
Yeah.
So that's like, is that...
And she knows she's taking care of her face real good, too.
Yeah. Yes.
I was attracted to Courtney Love in her heyday. And I'm attracted to her now.
Oh, you're with it.
Am.
You love chaos. You like chaos.
Yeah.
You got up and went and yelled at the TV at 9 in the morning for camp. So you do love chaos.
Billy Wayne, you've known Ben all of 30 minutes and you figured him out. And I've been friends with him for 20 years. And I'm like, that is his tagline. He loves chaos.
Here's your line, Diane.
Firstborn unicorn. Hardcore, softcore. Dream of Californication. Dream of Californication.
unicorn.
Firstborn unicorn. Who knew that that's what he was saying first time they heard it? Did you?
Nope. I didn't think anything of it. The first several times I heard this song, I was just like, okay, he's whatever. For whatever reason, my brain wasn't curious about it.
My husband thought he was saying firstborn in the corn. Like a girl who grew up like from Iowa or something and then moves to California and becomes a porn star. And I was like, that I could see that.
Yeah. I think I used to sing when this song came out. I think I used to sing "Friends Want You to Come," and I thought it was
nice.
I thought it was a double entendre. Yeah, like we want you to come to the party.
You got good friends. Like, hey, get in there.
I thought he said coal. I thought it was first one in the coal. I was like, I don't know what he's talking about.
That sounds gross.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah,
I don't even know what it means, but I don't like it.
And then the next line is hardcore soft porn. I thought he was saying hot girls soft porn.
I always knew that it was hardcore soft porn. It always drove me crazy. Like you can't, soft porn is not hardcore porn.
Yeah.
Like even when this song came out, I was 20 years old. Like I definitely knew the difference between softcore porn and hardcore porn.
Yeah. Skinamax.
Was he saying it's like they're doing actual penetration and stuff, but they're making it look like soft?
Oh.
Yeah.
But that's
because good. Like that in for a while, I remember like sex and all that, where it was like the softcore porn, and then there was like hardcore porn. Like that whole time period in LA is like not cool. You know what I mean? It's like not great.
Well,
it was like cocaine was like not awful yet, not like, hey, stop it. It was still like, this helps everything. It just makes everything cooler. And you're like, I don't. So like that time period was any stories you hear, like, you know, especially you run into like old people, old producers or something, like, I was involved in this. And you're like, oh, this is, you shouldn't brag about any of this. You get so much cocaine that the moral part of your brain is just gone. So you think all this is cool. Like, you know, this song makes more sense than I thought it did. And now that I live here, and it's like sad. Like, it's just like it's a sad song.
Well, do you know that? Sorry, Ben.
Cocaine never improves anything. Like the last time I was at a party where people were doing cocaine, I was just like, okay, like, why is the talking guy crying all of a sudden? What
happened? It is not ever a good.
No. A friend of mine in college loved it and was, you know, an addict and trying to stay away from it. And at that point, I had never done it. I have done it since then. But I asked her, like, what's so great about it? And she goes, you're the best version of yourself when you're on it. And then I started meeting cokeheads and I was like, you think you are. You're the worst. You're the worst person to get like cornered by at a party. Like you realize all of a sudden you're like, why is this person annoying? And then you're like, it's the coke.
That is the most coke head thing to say though. It's like, I like it because I'm the best version of myself. Right.
I think it's amazing to me. Like I've done it less than 5 times in my life and I've never enjoyed it, but I can detect its presence, man. Like I don't have to see you do, like, I just know. Like, I mean, obviously if you've done a lot, it's super obvious, but like if I walk into a room, I'm just like, oh yeah, I know what this is.
Yeah.
It is one of those, oh yeah, you can kind of like smell it if you more than once or twice. Yeah, it is like, yeah. One of those drugs, the first time I did it, I was like, oh, I can see where a personality type likes this, where it's not for me. No. I don't like this.
I need
everything to slow down. I don't need it to speed the fuck up.
Same. The first time I did it, and I've never even done enough to do like a whole line where you really get it. I mean, just like a little like key bump just to like sober up a little bit. And I was like, what I felt was get it off me. That's all I could think was get this off me. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's chemicals. It's not. Yeah. It starts out from a plant, but they put so much other stuff in there.
Okay, so firstborn unicorn has meaning from what I've read. Like someone has a theory. You guys know Dorothy Stratton, the Playboy model that was murdered by her ex-husband. They did a whole movie called Star 80 about it. Apparently someone wrote a book about her life and it's called The Killing of the Unicorn. And I think she was the firstborn of her siblings or something. So I think, you know, in his lyrical writing of a song, he's like trying to fit Dorothy Stratton's story in here. And he just firstborn unicorn. Yeah.
Or the movie was on the TV while he was.
Yeah. Yep. Or he was jerking off to her, because apparently there was like a whole year where Anthony Kiedis just like locked himself in his apartment and jerked off to porn. And I saw this interview where he was like bug-eyed, like, it's a problem, like it's an addiction.
Jesus. Yeah, that's a problem. I always like when people argue about like sex addiction. It's like, well, it's just labels, man. Like it's like you say, like it's a problem. Call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
It needs to be fixed. I think the reason he chose, like, if that's true, like if that's the reason he chose Dorothy Stratton, is because she's the classic story of the pretty girl who gets eaten by everyone in Hollywood. Like it was her boyfriend who sort of like was her manager, and he was actually the guy who, they're from, it's almost similar to Pamela Anderson. They're from Vancouver. She was like the hottest girl in Vancouver, and her boyfriend was a club promoter, and he was basically the guy. He didn't develop the wet t-shirt contest, but he's credited for popularizing it. Like that became like a big bar promotional thing. He started doing
kind of a thing,
and Dorothy Stratton was winning them all. So that's how she gets the contract to go to Playboy. She goes to Playboy, and all of a sudden now Hugh Hefner's got, you know, his fingers and trying to manage her, and she falls in love with, was it Peter Bogdanovich, the director? I think it was Peter.
Yeah.
So she basically like here's Peter Bogdanovich is this real like intellectual artist types, but as we know about intellectual artist types, they have penises too.
They're horny. They get horny. They like shapes, the same kind of shapes everyone else does.
Exactly. So she was basically like eaten up by three different men in three different directions. You know, the wet t-shirt boyfriend, Hugh Hefner, and then the director who's going to make her dreams come true.
Sad story. Saddest story.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why at the end. For a while.
Just the end, yeah.
Marry me, girl, be my fairy to the world, be my very own constellation. A teenage bride with a baby inside, getting high on information. And buy me a star on a boulevard, it's Californication.
Marry me, girl, be my fairy to the world, be my very own constellation. A teenage bride with a baby inside, getting high on information. And buy me a star on the boulevard, it's Californication. So I read that Anthony Kiedis, during one of his many stints in rehab, was talking to a woman who was pregnant and doing her damnedest to get sober, but not having any success with it whatsoever. And that was the inspiration for this lyric. So it's the second troubled woman that Anthony Kiedis has run into in just 3 verses. I think Anthony Kiedis has a thing for broken birds and scorched flowers.
It is. I'm glad we're doing this. It's like I have a new appreciation for their irreverence, because this is a truly sad song. It's it
is.
Like, I mean, it's a nonsense song, but when you like,
I don't know if it's nonsense anymore.
Well, when you have to Rosetta shit, you have to break it down and cast form to be like, oh, this is sad. Like, we've heard this song 4,000 times and been like, California, and then you listen to it and you're like, oh no,
it really is like we're breaking down hieroglyphics and then finding out there's actual meaning in these scribble scrabbles. You know what I mean?
I'm absolutely fascinated by how pop, like there's some ugly shit in this song. Diane's favorite band is Depeche Mode. He writes songs about heroin addiction and master like BDSM sex, and we played at brunch. You know, like you're pushing potatoes and bacon around your plate. You got your kid in the stroller, and you're listening to Dave Gahan.
Master and servant. That's actually Martin Gore writing all that, but yeah, and I'm super into it.
I'm fascinated when the wallpaper is ugly. This is one of my favorite lines in the song. Space may be the final. What's up?
Oh, I was going to say this next verse is the best verse in the whole song.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. In Cobain, can you hear the sphere singing songs off station to station? And Alderaan's not far away, it's Californication.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Do you remember the charming days of 2000 when you could say something like that that's just a glib little joke?
Yes.
Like now I hear somebody say, oh yeah, the moon landing was fake. I'm like, what else? What else is wrong in your head?
Where are we going? Where are we going with this?
Yeah. Joe Rogan wasn't even that famous yet.
And here's the thing. Here's the version that might even make sense about that is like, hey, there's certain technology we couldn't have beam the thing from there to do the thing. So we really did go, but we needed film to do the thing. So we got dude to do it. And I was like, all right,
I think I'm
that
okay
makes
with that.
sense.
It does.
But like not doing the whole thing, I'm like,
we did go, okay, we fucking went, but yeah, I think even Rogan has come around to being like, we went, but not sure that those images are completely from the moon.
I'm just saying. No.
That's brain breaking. I don't even want to think about that.
You don't have to.
It's fun. It actually is fun to think.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
I'm from.
I have a
NASA
cousin that
town.
works at NASA, and I ask him about it all the time, and he hates it. He hates when I bug him about that. Tell him about the moon. Have you ever been there? Is it just like it stand your key? He's like, just stop. You don't care. I don't care.
I love. There was an interview. Mark Kelly was on. Wait, was it Mark Kelly or Scott Kelly? Which one went to space? One of the twins, the astronaut twins. I met him at a baseball game. Anyway, he's the one that was in space for, a whole year. And someone asked him, like, what do you have to say to these flat earthers? And he just goes, looks round to me. That was great. Just simple, like, oh, it looked round from space.
I always get mad that we teach kids that there was once a time where people thought the earth was flat. Like, if you live by the ocean, you can see that it's curved. We always knew that we lived on a great big ball.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Cobain, can you hear the spheres singing songs off station to station?
There's a lot in this line.
Yep. So Kurt Cobain pops up. I'm trying to remember the article I read. There's a band called The Spheres. Diane, did you read that?
Okay. Here's the thing I read. Station to Station is a Bowie album. So what I read, and this may be far-fetched, spheres, music from the spheres, an ancient concept that views the motion of the planets and other celestial bodies through a musical lens. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would make sense that the celestial spheres would be singing Bowie songs.
Yeah, for sure.
He is the man who fell to earth, after all.
He's Ziggy Stardust.
And Alderaan's not far away. It's Californication. Billy, are you a Star Wars guy?
Sure.
Alderaan is Princess Leia's planet, and it was destroyed by the Empire. Right. So if you want to do a real dig deep, like in a comment section, I found somebody talking at length about how the Empire destroyed Alderaan, and that's what California is doing to the rest of the world. That's what Anthony Kiedis's space brain high mind is trying to tell you by referencing Alderaan.
Right.
Sure.
Or could it be, well, I always thought, that's an interesting, like, zoom in because, the United States is the empire in all of that, right? Like,
Sure.
So I always just thought that, like, that's what we're doing to the world or to the planet is capitalism's destroying it. And so I could see him zooming into, like, Hollywood is, like, broadcasting our nonsense, which is like, well, and like, I never, like we hear like about the Middle East and stuff, and they're mad about the West and they hear the West. I've been over there. What they mean is capitalism. And it's interesting because it's like most Americans are like, no, we don't like this either.
Yeah.
But it's what we have. It's the system that's set up to make us
and then
work.
that's being forced on them too. Like I was nervous when I flew to Dubai the first time, and then because I landed at night and it's like fast. It is fast and big, and I landed at like midnight, but it doesn't slow down. And then the next morning I got up and walked across the street to this mall. It was, very nice hotel. I was in this very nice mall, and there was a Krispy Kreme and a Starbucks, and I was like, oh, I think I'm okay here. Like, this is not.
Yeah.
I was like, this. I do see how this could piss people off.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've seen like the famous pictures of it. I think there's a Pizza Hut right next to the Great Pyramids of Giza. And it's like the famous, like, ironic, like, can you imagine being an Egyptian who loves history and loves their culture and has to look at that every day? You would be like, fuck capitalism, fuck the West.
Right.
tear that shit down. One of my favorite internet factoids is some smarty pants pointed out that Cleopatra is actually closer in time to the building of that Pizza Hut than she was to the building of the Great Pyramids. Like, that's how old they are.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's mind blowing. Like, I had to fact check that one. It's true. Like, because she's almost dead right in the middle.
Weird. Whoa, that's fun.
Crazy to think of. Like literally Cleopatra is looking at those pyramids going, holy shit, how did they do that? That's fucking amazing. How come we don't build shit like that anymore?
That's incredible.
And here's the problem I'm going to say about this song. As a Californian, you know, I'm a transplant, whatever. It's just Hollywood that he's talking about. This whole song is like this, and he's saying all of California. Most of California is fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's like it's like it's got everything you could ever want, really.
Northern California is a dream. I love it.
It's incredible. It's true. Like I just got back from Humboldt, like I was saying, like it's like a 10-hour drive from LA up to the top. And it's like, so I go from the desert to the redwood forest.
Yeah.
And everything in between. And it's just like, it always makes me laugh when I do that drive, because the whole time I just picture people across the country be like, you out there in California and blah, blah. And like, it's the coolest place. I was like, I've been to most of the places, you guys, and it's one of the best. It's so funny.
Yeah, there's a reason everybody wants to live there. Like it's
without, like, even the awful people here are still kind of interesting and funny. It's like they're my people, because like I'm a failed artist and a failed writer and a failed comic, and I feel alien, you know, living in Houston. But when I go to Los Angeles or California, I feel at home, because like I'm talking, like I know this guy's got a screenplay in a shoebox somewhere. That guy's working on a novel. This guy's got a guitar that he hasn't picked up in 18 months. Like, these are my people. It is a lot of people being like, I don't know, I got $30. We'll see how long that'll go. And they can ride it out.
In some beautiful weather, you're not smelling the piss of New York City. I don't know. It's a nicer place to try, I think.
Born and raised by
they're
those
different.
Sorry?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Born and raised by those who praise control of population. Everybody's been there, and I don't need no vacation.
Born and raised by those who praise control of population. Hey, it sounds a little more conspiratorial there, Mr. Kiedis. I'm not sure what he's driving at there. I couldn't really find anything that I couldn't find a thread to tug on there.
Probably just rhymed.
Yeah,
it's probably
I think so.
Like I think of that Will Ferrell thing a lot from the ice skating movie, when they're like, when he's doing the My Hump song.
Yeah.
And then and Napoleon Dynamite's like, what does that mean? And he's like, no one knows what it means. It's provocative. It gets the people going. It's like that. So much of pop music to me, I was like, that's just he nailed that. Where it's like, no one knows what it means. It gets the people going. You're like, that is.
No one knows and no one cares. We just want to be like, oosh, 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 oosh.
I'm horny.
I'm horny.
That's all
this
it
makes
is.
me horny. It's repetitive, and my brain can understand that. Yeah.
It's that chick too, from the Black Eyed Peas, Fergie. Her voice, like, I'm not attracted to her, but her voice does make me horny. I don't know what it is. Like, it's why. Like, I've talked to my wife about it. I was like, this is very strange, but like, I don't care for their music and stuff, but her voice.
Yeah, it's because the voice itself is sensuous. Like, it's literally like it's coming out of her voice and it's vibrating in your eardrum. She is literally stimulating your body.
Yeah.
Yes, but like visually, she doesn't do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, like nothing else about it is the weird. And that's why I like talk about, because I'm like, that is the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Like, nothing, like her talking, I don't give a shit about, like, but there's just like, I'm like, huh.
It's weird.
I don't even know how I would have sex with that. Do you know what I mean?
It's weird when there's a disconnect with voices, isn't it? Like, I was shocked. I don't know if you guys remember the band Romeo Void, but one of their big songs is Might Like You Better If We Slept Together. Super sexy song. That girl is not hot. I'm sorry, and this is me being very, very, very mean, but I'm just going to say when I looked up what the lead singer of Romeo Void looked like, I'm like, that's why they're not super famous. And that song wasn't super, super, super famous because she's not hot, but her voice and what she's saying, so hot, so horny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, think about like those older country singers like Conway Twitty.
Conway Twitty.
Some of it's like hideous looking, like out of shape men, but like because of their voice, women are just like, that's a sexy man. You're like, that is someone's. It's who that is. That is not a sexy man.
I make a joke
like,
all the time.
Like,
I make a joke all the time.
Sexy.
I put Conway Twitty's photo up next to my grandmother, and it's the same hair. They look the same, but his sex appeal.
It's crazy. It's so funny. It's always, even as a child, I was just like, I don't understand what is happening. Also, I love Dwight Yoakam. Like, he's amazing. Like, his music's amazing. He's like funny. He's kind of weird. But he looks like and no offense.
We've all seen Sling Blade. He looks
like a possum. He looks like a possum. He looks like a possum was a person. Like, I don't mean that mean.
Yeah.
But I went and saw him probably 20 years ago now at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville. It's one of the coolest shows I've ever seen. And he's like pole skinny.
Yes.
Like in a way that's like heroin chic. He's not a drug person, but that kind of like wayfish.
Sitting right here.
And then Ben, stand up.
Similar. Very similar. Look. And then, the giant head, and then he does this thing, and just jeans that are painted on. It was impressive how tight. I was just like, I don't like as it, I was like probably like 19 or 20. I was like, this is all insane. Yeah. And then he would shake his hips, and the like grown women would lose their mind.
Okay.
And it's the most fascinating thing to this day.
Mick Jagger.
He looks like a lady.
And then David Bowie's body. You're describing the same body, and he wears the. I am staring across from me at a David Bowie poster right now, where he's wearing a skin tight unitard, and I'm like, yeah, women lose their shit. Like and men, everyone lost their shit over Bowie. It's some people just have that sex appeal.
Well, he's confident. Bowie seemed like he knew things other people didn't. So, like anyone like that is like people want that kind of like, why? How you got? Yeah, you just walk in a room and not want to vomit. Like people like, you know what I mean? Like people want that kind of.
I mean, he rules
Sinatra had it.
Androgyny and sex appeal and confidence and talent and the two crazy eyes that aren't the same color. Yeah, he's just got it all.
Yeah, he's like an alien.
Yeah. Maybe.
The next verse is okay.
Oh yeah,
I take it back. This is my favorite.
Speaking of an alien, yeah.
Destruction leads to a very rough road, but it also breeds creation. An earthquake's out to a girl's guitar, that's just another good vibration. And tidal waves couldn't save the world from Californication.
Destruction leads to a very rough road, but it also breeds creation. Now, this is the Red Hot Chili Peppers, so it's impossible to hear that song and not think about, like, is he grateful for his drug issues, for all of his friends' drug issues? I think that's clearly what he's saying there. Like, there is a level of gratitude there. Because that's what they say in recovery rooms. Like, you have to have that attitude of gratitude. Like, I really do wonder if Anthony Kiedis was just like, we wouldn't have written all those great songs.
Yep.
Well, it is I drank for a long time in like an unhealthy way, and then I quit probably like close to 10 years ago. And there is something about why understand like knowing why because you have to, I don't think justify is the right word, but silver lining this fucking trauma and dark shit that you did to yourself. You're running or whatever, but like that. And then there's like this coming to grips of like, it made us a lot of fucking money and made my life better.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's a hard, because I've been around people that okay, it's impressive to me when rich and famous, talented people get off whatever they're doing drug wise.
Yeah.
And don't die.
Because they don't have a rock bottom. Most of them. Mm-hmm. They don't. Because, and I've been around it and seen it and had to, like, you know, cut out's not the right word, but like stop enabling and being around certain behavior, and then eventually you cut off those friends because it's what happens, because you can't, they'll bring you down too because of that behavior. And the rich and famous ones, that one was tough to watch the first time, because it hits you hard that you're like, because you can't, even if you took their money away, people want to hang out with them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you took that thing away, they have money and access to anything they want anytime.
Mm-hmm.
It is like this very strange thing where we give certain people keys to everything.
Yeah.
And then we're like, why are they fucking being weird?
I've never thought about that. The difference between the rock bottom of a famous person and the rock bottom of like someone who already had nothing and now they're just literally homeless on the street. Yeah. How different that is.
I think for normal people, it's the fear of death that brings them back from the brink. This is going to sound grandiose, but I think for artists like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I think it's the fear of their art dying that brings them back. Like, I think Anthony Kiedis probably gets on stage or into the studio, and all of a sudden the songs aren't coming, or everything sounds like shit. And he's just like, I'm supposed to be one of the greatest musicians in the world, and I'm not. You know, what happened? Like, I really do think that that's what saves artists from their drug problems. Like, you're destroying the thing that you love.
That's a good one.
Oh, well, it's also, I mean, this is just speaking from personal things. It was like, I wanted to see if I like this certain lifestyle, or if I just like the thing I was doing. And then it was like this, like stand up. Do you know what I mean? Because stand up can lend itself to a certain lifestyle. And like, I think a lot of people just maintain that lifestyle more than are chasing. And I was like, thank God that the answer was like, I really love the art form of doing this. I don't have to check these boxes off or do what anybody else is doing anymore, because I don't, I chase the high after the show and stuff like that. Like, I did all that stuff. I've been around the most famous, I've done all that kind of stuff you associate with when you're young, what it is. And then I think you're onto something where it is like, I really like telling jokes on stage. The rest of it makes me fucking insane to a certain degree.
And it makes me sad in the morning, and it makes me not good at writing new jokes, Yeah.
But if you can separate that, like I have a special out now, and that's why I'm on this podcast, is promote it. Do you see how I did that?
I like it. We're gonna give you all the time to promote it. Go for it.
No, I'm just being silly. But it is like you said, like, you get distracted by certain things. Like the release, we're doing release, which is like 2 weeks where you can watch it live in this thing, but then keep that part. I don't know if they're gonna like me saying that, but it's the truth. So like, it's like, but then after next week, you can get it on video demand. You can keep it. You own it. You can download all the Audible or audio stuff, like audio version of the record. Excuse me. You can do all that. But because certain numbers weren't what I, in my head, wanted them to be immediately, I was like sad about this thing that took me like 2 years to really make and create. And it's like this really cool thing I'm very proud of. But then these made up numbers in my head I was like, yeah. And you're like, oh, this is for 2 days. I didn't understand. I was like, why am I sad? Just do this thing. And I was like, oh, because I'm concentrating on this part of it that I don't give a fuck about.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard not to.
Yeah, because of the business part of it, those motherfuckers love all those numbers and stuff.
But in the end, did you make something that you were proud of?
I made something incredible. I'll be honest. Like it's truly special. It's like it's the people trusting me with money, and we got to do, and I collaborated with like some really amazing, talented people, which is like, you know, it took me a while to get it right.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
Good.
It was worth so
good.
Yeah, you put the work and it paid off. That's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, it's, the whole time people screaming, you need to put out more stuff. Why you take so much time in between stuff? And you're like, because no one puts out stuff before it's ready. Because it's like you're chasing this dollar thing that's not making you more money in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So why not I just had that perspective early on that when you release something like a record, it's out. That is truly becomes your body of work.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's out there in the world, and that's what people think of you, and so it better be up to your standards.
Yeah, and it's not, late night set to a certain degree is, but like, or a clip, but like when you put out the thing, that's your record.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just,
I appreciate it, and I like that you took your time and wanted to get it right, and you're not. There are some of these comedians that can release a special every year, and like, okay, they're savants, okay, but we can't all fucking do that. So like, take pride in what you're creating and make it yours.
I don't mean to be an asshole, but I don't think they can either. Like I don't like even the best and the most talented comics that are putting out an hour every year. It's not their best stuff.
Nope.
It's and you can compare it. Like I don't want to name names. I'm not a shit talker, but like you can see it. Like this latest special is not nearly as good as a special you did 4 years ago.
Yeah,
it's noticeably worse.
Yep.
Yep, you're exactly right.
I wonder if it's contractual. Like they didn't even want to do it too either, but they were under contract to get one out for.
I think it's competition. I think it's guys being dudes. I think it's just that, well, if that guy can put out an hour every year, then I fucking have to too.
Well, it's that weird thing too. I think you're on to something more than they would ever say. But it's that, I don't know if you notice, like everyone started referring to their hour.
Yeah.
Too. And it's like, no, it's like, oh, I'm working on my new hour. And you're like, then you don't have an out.
Yeah.
Then it's like, you don't. And also you're supposed to have an hour and a half of material when you go do an hour. Because then you're supposed to cut out fucking 30 minutes that doesn't fucking belong there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But this is a totally different podcast, and I could go on about it for a long time. But it is like the industry does that because they don't care anymore.
Yep.
About substance. It's just content.
Yep. Likes, clicks, keep it going, keep it going.
And I don't know if it's bad for art, but it's not bad for funny people, because truly funny people are just going to they'll find their niche, they'll grow their audience because they can get to them now. Comedy Central can't hide them like they used to be able to hide people and do all that stuff. So if you keep working, you'll slowly build your audience like you should. But, and there'll be motherfuckers because you can get quick famous now. So, but you always could. If you could sneak on Johnny Carson, you could get quick famous then.
It was different back then. Getting a late night special made your career back then. It was wild. Now, I know so many comics that have a late night and people still don't know who they are.
Well, they're not good late nights. But I'm with you. Like all those prolific people is like, I watch these hours and I'm like, this is 30 minutes. You put up 30 minutes. That's why I wasn't happy with what even the 30 minutes he put out, but I thought it was cool that Aziz put out a 30-minute thing.
Yeah.
I was like, but it's still just, it was like tweets is what he put out. I'm not mad at him. He got paid to read his tweets on Netflix. So I'm not mad at him, but that was not a special.
I'd take the money if someone would pay me.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not hating on this, but this is like, this motherfucker got paid a bunch of money to read tweets 30 minutes at the start.
And I don't mean it as a criticism. Like, there are plenty of comics that I love and respect. Like, of course, like if you've been working on this hour for a year, I definitely want to see it. But it's not like, obviously that's going to be entertaining because you're really good at what you do. It's just not as good as you have to do better than your last one, don't you?
Right.
That should, in my mind, that should be the competition that you're having. Not, can I put out any old hour every year?
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a weird. Yeah. I don't. Somewhere in between trying to do that and then Leno never doing one and still doing some of the base jokes he's
right.
Which I could talk about Leno all day, but that part of him is fascinating where he has never released a stand-up special.
Isn't that crazy? It's
and
wild.
He's made so much money doing stand-up.
It always amazes me. There's a couple of guys that I think they never make it into the top 5. You're talking about like the top 5 stand-ups. There's really like 8 guys that populate everybody's top 5 lists. You know what I mean? It's like Pryor, Carlin, Lenny Bruce, Hicks, Kinnison, like Chappelle gets in there now. You know what I'm talking about. But nobody ever mentions Rodney Dangerfield. Nobody ever mentions Bob Newhart. Like I was a comedy nerd. You go back and you listen to the Lenny Bruce records. I don't laugh because it's so dated. But you listen to the Button Down Mind of Bob Newhart. It's every bit as funny now as it was, Jesus, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
His timing is it's just that's what we've lost too. A lot of comedy got louder, and with the content stuff is like great timing is often overlooked because they want loud, and like there's a dumbing down of America that is truly happening where they're just like, if you're not telling them where the joke is on some level, a lot of the crowd's not going to get it.
They're going to miss it entirely.
It's really upsetting.
There's a subtle little joke in the next line, and earthquakes are to a girl's guitar, they're just another good vibration. Like, can you imagine that? It's just like an earthquake is just the same as a girl gently strumming her guitar. That's how little we give a shit about that level of mass destruction.
I know.
I mean, it is. I've been in several since I moved here. And I lived in Seattle. We had them up there too. Yeah, some of them are big, and like you're like, whoa, shit. Then some of them said like most of them are little. So it is odd. It is weird when you get used to
that probably didn't even make the news when I lived in LA, and it scared the living shit out of me. Like, what the fuck was that? Like, it's a tremor. Like, no, what?
No.
It's coughed. What is that?
It is the first time I felt one, it like woke me up in Seattle at like 5 a.m. in the bed, and I was like, huh. And I got up and peed, and I was like, fuck, I'm up. You know what I mean? Like that kind of now I can't go back to son of a bitch. Like so I like turn on the TV, and it was like there was just an earthquake, and I was like, oh, that's what. And then I just sat there like you said, just kind of like, huh. So none of this is steady. None of this is. It's like watching it, like when you're old enough to fully understand watching somebody build a house and they're just putting 2x4s there to, and they're just mixing stuff, and you're like, this just doesn't seem like I should get on the second floor of anything.
I talk about that in building in general, like bridges and everything, like that all went to the lowest bidder. Like we are all walking on unstable foundations all the time.
And then, okay, speaking of Northwest, like that, that famous bridge where it's like this one, that's in Tacoma. It's called the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. And I was crossing it and I was like, man, this bridge feels familiar. And whoever I was with is like, yeah, it's this one. It's the one that you've seen from the thing. And I was like, and it is. It's because there's like a narrow part of the Puget Sound, and that's where they do the crossing. But it like the wind kind of it is. I hate it.
Don't like it.
And tidal waves couldn't save the world from Californication. So the spread of California is more destructive than any of God's tools, I guess is what we're saying, right?
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. I wouldn't.
He's dramatic about it. Is I think he means it's capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I Sergeant Barrow, while to break the spell of aging. Sicker than the rest, there is no test, but this is what you're craving.
I thought
Pay your surgeon very well to break the spell of aging. Sicker than the rest, there is no test, but this is what you're craving.
Yeah.
We all want to be young. We all want the sex and drugs in California. We all want to romanticize that. I think that's the general thesis of this one. This is a fun song. It was a good gig.
Thank you. It was like, oh, this one be fun to like, because he's such a dingbat, and I love it.
Yeah.
But also,
you freeze up? I think Billy froze up.
Can you hear me? Yeah, we froze for a second. I don't know if he's gone. His face is frozen.
Shall we throw it to Jeremy? Do we have a Jeremy?
No. He took off this week, and we've already done the chili peppers. So he's like, oh, we've already done the chili peppers.
Billy's right. Anthony Kiedis is a dingbat, but I like how he announces it now. Like he has the mustache today. You know, it's like he's owning it. Like he's got the goofball presentation now.
You're back.
We
lost
you for a second. No, I could see it because both of you were like paused and weird. I was like, that's not natural. What's happening?
We're just talking about how it's great that Anthony Kiedis kind of owns being a dingbat.
No, that's what you want in a front man is like especially that kind of band. Like some of my best friends are musicians and they're dingbat. Like the ones that are really good at it, it's like they're on a different thing than everybody else, and it's exhausting to be around when they get in certain things. But they're also genuinely fascinating to do. So it is like a fun, you know what I mean? Like it's a fun to be like, oh, you're deeply damaged as well. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're not good at social stuff either. That's funny.
I think there's a difference.
You seem really good at it. I'm like, oh, I am just putting people where they need to be so I can get the fuck out of this room is what I'm doing.
Yes.
I think there's a difference between a musician's ego and a comedian's ego, because with a comedian, like you have to be charming and seductive in a way in order to get the laugh. And a musician, like if you're a bad, and there's bad comics too, but if you're a musician can just overwhelm you with noise. You know, and I think there's certain guys that are attracted to that. Like I'll just be the largest force in the room, which is always the personality that I find most repulsive.
First of all, drummers are fascinated the most in what we do because of the rhythm part of it. And I called that when I went on tour I was like, the drummer will watch every show. The other people will watch shows here and there.
Interesting.
And my friend was like, holy shit, you're right. And I was like, it's a rhythm thing. They're genuinely fascinated with it because they can see it in a way that other people can't.
Yeah.
And then what they can hide. They want the attention. They love that part. But they can hide behind the thing. Right. So they, like the other musicians I learned were like, they're genuinely fascinated because we're just out there fucking talking.
Yeah.
And other comics also get fascinated with me. Like, I don't give a shit about an introduction or anything like that. Like, you don't need to let the people know. I'm like, me walking out there will let them know the fucking show started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, and if I can't get their attention talking without a big thing, the rest ain't gonna fucking go. You know, it's like that's the way I've always like looked at it. And musicians are super fascinated with that part. They're like, you don't want us to like lower the music, or I was like, you can do smoke and all that shit, motherfucker. I don't care. I was like, the less distraction, the better about what I'm gonna say. And they were just like, so if it doesn't go good, I'm like, I'm just owning it up there.
It is
hitting me in the fucking chest.
It's almost like we love that. It almost feels good. We're like, yeah. And I you can go see a band and not know them, and at the end of their song, everybody claps politely. No one claps politely at a bad fucking joke. I mean, like, ooh.
Well, unless it's comics got a guitar. It's fucking true. Bullshit.
We love you, Henry Phillips. You're always the best. Oh.
Well, I think we did it. I think that's Californication.
All right. He's frozen again. When he comes back, I hope he can hear us. We got to find out his guilty pleasure and let him promote the shit out of his special. Come back to us, Billy Wayne. Come back to us. I think we have some bad Wi-Fi going on over there.
Mm-hmm. There.
Oh, there it is. Back. All right. We're gonna wrap this up. So before we do, we're gonna have you tell us your guilty pleasure song and then promote that special. So, Billy Wayne, do you have a guilty pleasure song?
Yeah, I really thought about it this morning pretty hard. Because there's like the first couple, I was like, I don't feel guilty about liking that song. It's just a good song.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and people can make fun of it. It's still a good song. But then, you know, what song I do feel like I like it, and I do feel bad about like it is Ice Ice Baby. It's
so good.
Yeah.
Gary Goldman has a whole joke about it, and it's so good.
Who does?
Gary Goldman.
Oh, I bet it's. Well, he stole from David Bowie, but it's a great song.
Yo, VIP. Let's kick it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. All right, stop.
Gary Goldman's joke, I mean, I won't say the whole joke, but there's part where you hear that first boom, 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 and you're like, oh God, please don't be under pressure by Queen and David Bowie. Like, you want it to be Ice Ice Baby.
Yes. Well, it's like the whole story's funny about Vanilla Ice, like, you know, hanging from his thing, and then when he like tries to defend that it's like a different
he
thing.
Goes bing, bing, yeah.
Oh, that whole thing is like, no, just say that it's fine. They all do that. Everyone does that.
It's called sampling. It's fine.
Just so funny, like just all of it, and then like I know all the words.
Everyone does. Everyone does.
And it makes me feel bad because it's.
You have no reason to feel bad. I feel sympathy for Vanilla Ice now because we all would have done that. If you're a 17, 18-year-old kid and they're just shoveling money at you to be on the cover of teenage magazines, you do that. Of course, you're going to feel shitty about the dumb things that you did when you were 17 by the time you're 27 or 37 or 47.
But he fuck Madonna too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was all the Miami sound, the Miami's on the scene, just in case you didn't know it. Like he was all up in like that's it. Like Miami's its own place, its own culture, and like I'm always forget that, and then I'll go there for a couple of days. You're like, oh yeah, this is like base for like so many. It's just an alien place. It's hilarious and awesome. There's too much money. Everyone's from other places, and no one's up to any good. It is, but like he's part of like Miami culture, still, which is Miami, like I didn't
citywide swingers party,
and like he was like during all his heyday, that's where he was operating out of was Miami. So like that gives it even more weird context to me, where it's like, of course.
Oh, Florida.
We're bringing it back next year, and we're going to do a whole episode on Vanilla Ice.
Okay.
I'm great. Oh, great. Yeah. And I may or may not have a special. It depends on it together. I'm not going to force it. So,
All right. Speaking of your special, let's talk about it. Let's promote.
It is wonderful right now. If you just go to bwdtour.com, it has all the social stuff. It's a very simple site. It has testifies the name of the special. It's down on the left-hand corner. You can get it there. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter or bands in town or all that stuff. It's just a very simple way to get your fix on me.
Perfect.
So probably the best way to do it. So
Billy Wayne Davis is very findable.
Yes, bwdtour.com is what it is. Because someone bought BillyWayneDavis.com and tried to charge me like $3,000. Like, oh, I'm not gonna get.
No,
you've overestimated how vain I am. Yeah,
I can say the Billy Wayne Davis. Like I'm not. No, yeah.
Yeah, I bought a bunch of other stuff because it was cheap, and I was like, yeah. And then I checked it the other day. It keeps going down in price. I'm like, yeah, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Billy Wayne, it was such a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. This was super fun.
Really
Anytime, and I'll be in Houston.
Ooh.
April. It's the week before 420, whatever that is.
Okay.
All right.
I'll be at the secret group. So.
Oh, yay. All right. That's super exciting. Any other dates coming up that you want? This will come out Monday, so this will come out tomorrow.
No. But those Houston ones for sure. I just booked that and I was like, oh yeah.
All right then. So much fun. We'll have you back anytime. Totally do a Vanilla Ice episode with you one day. I'd love it.
Yes. No, let's do that. We'll do it in April. That sounds great. We'll do it in person.
Oh, let's do it live in April. Yeah.
It's perfect.
Ooh,
perfect.
Good idea. Okay.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
I gotta go do kid stuff.
Go have fun.
All right, bye guys.
Bye. Thank you.
That guy's charming, man.
I had to lower my energy. I was like, ooh, I forgot. I love watching him on stage because he does the Sean Rouse thing where he's like, this is my pace. You're coming on board this ship now. And that's how I was telling myself, like, Diane, you're on his ship now. You gotta just wait.
I know this is like super biased and ignorant of me, but I love it when somebody with a thick Southern accent subverts my expectations. It's one of my favorite things in the world.
I love it. Okay, so next week, I keep changing my mind, but I already told Jeremy we're going to do this. This certain band. I have sprung on Ben that I want to challenge us to do all Christmas related songs in December. We do have James Brown, our Patreon guy, coming up in December, and he doesn't have to pick a Christmas song. Let him know that he can pick any song he wants. But from you and I want to challenge us to do just Christmas songs. And there's a lot. I almost did Baby It's Cold Outside because it's fun to like cancel Dean over and over again. But it's a little hack at this point, to be honest. But I think I just want to talk about George Michael, but I'm going to choose Last Christmas by Wham.
Last Christmas by Wham. I'm on board.
And George Michael died on Christmas Day in 2016, and this song took off after that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Christmas Day.
I guess I probably did know that, but it wasn't stay in my head. Okay.
Yeah. So
I will be ready.
Yeah. And that's it. I think we've done it.
We have done it. Californication. Go destroy yourself. Make art.
Yes.
Vogue.
1, 2, 3.
Rock the Cash Bar is produced by Diane Gallagher. Music by Chuck Savage and Eddie Hawkins. Special thank you to Jeremy Essig for 6 Degrees and to Sarah Wessling for the Guilty Pleasures vocals. Our website is rockthecashbarpodcast.com, and there you can find links to our Spotify playlist and to our Patreon. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.